We now continue with our narration of Frank Channing Haddock's Culture of Courage. We move on to Chapter 4. Dual Health Tone of the Self. Be strong and of good courage. Be not afraid. Neither be thou dismayed. A quote from the Bible. Stoics of old defined virtue as essential health and strength of mind, a right state of the soul agreeing with its proper nature. Sound physical health is usually accompanied by feelings of buoyancy and optimism. And healthy mindedness not only signifies essential health and strength of mind, but also involves a tendency which looks on all things and sees that they are good. We may distinguish this tendency as A, voluntary, and B, involuntary. In its voluntary variety, healthy mindedness is a way of feeling happy about things immediately. In its symmetrical variety, it is an abstract way of conceiving things as good. Practical mind health, then, consists in essential health and strength of the soul, together with a cultivated habit of affirming and realizing always the best things for one's life. In the unhealthy minded, apart from all sorts of old regrets, ambitions checked, and aspirations obstructed by timidities, it, the inner atmosphere, consists mainly of bodily discomforts, not distinctly realized by the sufferer, but breeding a general self-mistrust and sense that things are not as they should be with him. In the healthy-minded, on the contrary, there are no fears or shames to discover. And the sensations that pour in from the organism only help to swell the general vital sense of security and readiness for anything that may turn up. We may possess wholesome minds and optimistic spirits without being religious. Nevertheless, perfect health of soul demands of the deeper self, let our theories of soul be what they may, demands of the deeper self an attitude of harmony and trust which loves truth supremely, believes profoundly in the white life goodness of worlds, and seeks steadfastly to realize the central will. The health tone of the soul is a blending of soundness, happiness, and spirituality in a broad and lofty sense, at home in the universe. This spiritual health of the personality at the top, whatever religious language be approved or rejected, carries the feeling of at-homeness in the whole universe about us. Beautifully did Epictetus say, if those things are true which are said by philosophers concerning the kinship of God and men, what else remains for men to do than after Socrates' way, who never, when men inquired of him what was his native country, replied Athens or Corinth, but the universe? In such an outlook of thought, we possess the feelings of freedom and security, which are beyond price. Is freedom anything else than the power to live as we choose? Nothing else. None. Therefore, that fears or grieves or is anxious is free. But whosoever is released from griefs and fears and anxieties is by that very thing released from slavery. The wise old hunchback from those writings I have quoted saw in such things the beginning of the higher life. Man, he exhorted, be mad at last, as the saying is, for peace, for freedom, for magnanimity. Lift up thy head as one delivered from slavery. Dare to look up to God and say, deal with me henceforth as thou wilt. I am of one mind with thee. I am thine. I reject nothing that seems good to thee. Lead me whithersoever thou wilt. Clothe me in what dress thou wilt. Wilt thou have me govern or live privately, or stay at home, or go into exile, or be a poor man or a rich? For all these conditions I will buy thy advocate with men. And this man was a pagan. If ye will hearken unto me, O men, wheresoever ye be, whatsoever ye do, ye shall not grieve, ye shall not be wroth, ye shall not be compelled or hindered, but ye shall live untroubled and free from every ill. So Epictetus lived untroubled. Teaches us, not to deny the facts of life, but to rise to freedom of courage and confidence in mind, whatever the facts, good or ill, may be. And these are some of the main things in mental health. The Roman Emperor, Marcus Aurelius, gives us almost a universal formula into which the entire matter may be thrown. Quote, everything harmonizes with me which is harmonious to thee, O universe. Nothing for me is too early or too late, which is in due time for thee. Everything is fruit to me which thy seasons bring, O nature. From thee are all things. In thee are all things. And to thee all things return. The poet says, dear city of Cecrops. And wilt thou not say, dear city of God? Surely the universe is the city of the infinite. Thus may we come to one general conclusion, that true courage is born of a sense of harmony with the world in which we live. And the tone of health, as thus indicated, is the finest possible culture ground for every form of desirable courage. The courage of the prize fighter is not admired in these pages. And now for the development of the higher personal tone in the interest of a fearless attitude toward all things. You are invited to observe the suggestions following in relation to mental health. We have seen that the practical mind health consists of mental soundness together with a cultivated habit of affirming and realizing always the best things for one's life. This acquisition of such a habit must deal with difficulties confronting mental tone. These difficulties we ought clearly to see, and the chief among them will now appear. Ever in opposition to a confident attitude of mind health is, first, the difficulty of false ideas about environment. How to overcome. Many of us assume that environment or circumstances make or defeat our mental life. The fact is, what you do with environment is precisely one of the tests of your mind, rather of the self which uses the mind. The real meaning of environment is opportunity for life building. You can make of anything in your right existence such an opportunity. On the other hand, there is nothing related to you of which you may not in some way fail to take advantage. Environment is the true workshop of the soul. For to every person living, there are two kinds of environment. That of the scene world or the neighborhood, with all of its varied circumstances, be these exactly what they are, and of the world of thought reality in which each individual actually lives. Neither of these environments need determine real life. Stone walls do not a prison make, nor iron bars a cage. In multitudes of cases, imperious self, seeking its own better kingdoms, has succeeded in changing its visible environment, either by deliberate transfer to other fields or by creating a demand through manifestability from higher levels. Come thou up hither. Here we have the triumph of persistent mind power. Mind power. An editor formerly pursued in success in 3 university courses, history, law, and medicine, and went into the hotel business. Then he wrote a book which the people wanted, and he's now assisting in the editorial chair a multitude of struggling men to find their right places in life. A hack driver in New York discovered himself and proceeded to work his way through college. He is now a master teacher in philosophy. A coal miner found that he possessed a voice worth training. He threw himself into the task of attaining vocal perfection. No man today surpasses him in the field of the oratorio. A boy purchased a lot of minerals from workmen engaged in cutting a bank for a railway track. He is now an expert on precious stones, a writer of scientific books, and a fellow in several learned societies. Such are examples, taken from real life and not found in print, of what you can do according to your original endowment. And the only way in which you can discover your endowment is precisely to discover what kind of environment you can conquer. The will to do so will constitute one important element in sound, healthy mindedness. To this end, you are urged to saturate your very soul with this inspiration resolution. Believing vigorously in myself and confident of ultimate success, I resolve to discipline and cultivate mind in every available way, to multiply my best powers into all things undertaken, to follow the inner voice of my sanest judgment, and to make my whole environment a splendid workshop for development and achievement of the best of which I am capable. If you will practice such a resolution, you will find your mind coming more and more to strength and healthy tone, and your courage rounding out to symmetry and power. But environment has another phase. It is also the world of thought in which the soul lives. This may be a mere reflection of the material environment, pleasing or otherwise, or it may be an independent product of the real self, good or evil, pervading and dominating rather than reflecting the physical surroundings. In the one case, the visible rules, in the other, the soul reigns. We create our worlds either by simple copying or by that divine ability to construct, which is the privilege of all. The healthy mind creates a psychic environment which throws a light upon the outer world and masters its so-called evils in the very act of such creation. If life conditions are dark, the Spirit illumines them. If they are bright, it transfigures their significance and is thus enabled to stand serene, whatever betide. This is indeed an old truth, but so also is moss an old reality, and marvelously beautiful. Look into it with seeing eyes. It has starry wonders. Peter, the wealthiest man in Russia, is taken prisoner by the French and suffers some hardships from his improvised goal, a hut. He looks out upon a moon-flooded world and gazes up into the starlit dome of the sky. "All that is mine," exclaims the prisoner. "All that is in me is me." And that is what they think they have taken prisoner. That is what they have shut up in a cabin. If you would come to such a real world, thought world environment, several things must become the very surest realities of your life. Among these essential things, and perhaps the first that should be noted, are courageous beliefs and the valiant will. The universe appeals to every one of us. Be not faithless, but believing. When you really believe it for a goal, you will that goal. And you surely believe for it when you actually will it. The attitudes indicated compel the achievements. I shall not weaken that truth by any provisos. Who gains promotions, boons, appointments, but the man in whose life they are seen to play the part of a live hypothesis? Who discounts them, sacrifices other things for their sake before they have come, and takes risks for them in advance. His faith acts on the powers above him as a claim, and it creates its own verification. This does not mean, of course, a superstitious faith in miracles wrought for the favored individual because he affirms belief in a providence. It simply means work, and plenty of work, conducted in the entire confidence that the whole of a man gone into a system of effort shall surely bring out of it great things. The very fact of work thus carried on signifies the spirits of belief and will, which conquer circumstances and arrest the attention of higher powers in any human field. Well, then comes enlargement of environment, opportunity. All the circumstances that exist are somewhere defeated by some soul. Everywhere are people who are swamped by environment and who remain mental non-entities in a perennial state of depressing ill health of mind. But everywhere are other people who refuse to be swamped, who assert the right of the fullest mental life, who continue to grow and to conquer to the end. It is to be remembered that this chapter deals not in methods of educational work for the mind, however, but merely is in suggestions for mental health. Right living is therefore of the utmost importance. Whatever your mental attainments, if your life is wrong, you cannot be possessed of true health of mind. In some instances, the will, while successful in unfolding a kind of right living, does not always maintain the real tone of a healthy mind. Marcus Aurelius was probably the greatest emperor as a man that Rome produced. Yet he was the most melancholy pagan of antiquity. He lived rightly so far as he knew, but his thought life was eminently unhealthy, at least at times. Splendidly, he said, "Be like the promontory against which the waves continually break, but it stands firm and tames the fury of the water around it." And he also declared, "Such as bathing appears to thee, oil, sweat, dirt, filthy water, all things disgusting, so is every part of life and everything." Socrates was the most healthy-minded of all the Greeks. And the happiest, the freest, the most courageous. This man's personality shines across the ages like a pillar of white marble. He was the white life so far as conceived by his Greek thought. It is really the white life which makes soundness and buoyancy natural to mental health, so that environment really becomes the workshop of the soul. But the mastery of environment is not a matter of sheer will and mere pushing and crowding for better things. Here then appears a further obstacle to healthy mindedness. Secondly, the difficulty of false ideas of the success spirit. How to correct that. But that's near the next video. We'll see you there.